He shoved the letter in my hand, the ink still wet. "Sign it, Dad. Today. Or the lawyer walks away at 6. The paper smelled of toner, sharp and cold. My son Daniel towered over me, his jaw tight. I felt the room tilt. Was I just a servant now? I stared at the letterhead. Property transfer agreement. Deadline, 6 p.m. Daniel tapped his watch, metal clicking against the wood. Don't stall. He'll be here any minute. The living room reeked of lemon polish, my morning work. Why would he treat me like a tenant in my own house? I remembered last night, his words cutting me raw. You can keep dusting floors if you like, but not this land. My fingers trembled against the heavy sheet. The logo of Peterson and Clark glared at me like a stamp of exile. Was this really how he saw me? Weak, disposable? Daniel leaned closer, voice low and sharp. If you don't sign, Dad, I'll make sure Sarah never visits again. The threat stung harder than the paper's edge. My granddaughter's laughter echoed in memory, sweet and fragile. Would he really use her like a weapon? A knock rattled the doorframe. 3 quick strikes, urgent. Daniel straightened, sliding the letter under a folder. His smirk deepened. That's him, the lawyer. My chest tightened as I rubbed the scar on my palm. Was this the moment I lost everything? The lawyer entered briskly, briefcase snapping open. Mr. Harris, we need this notarized before the bank closes at 5. His voice was clipped, professional, already impatient. He placed the seal on the table, its metal glint biting my eyes. Daniel's shadow fell over both of us like a curtain. I whispered, "What if I don't sign today?" Daniel's hand slammed the table, rattling the glasses. Then they take the farm, Dad. Tonight. The lawyer didn't blink, just waited. Why did no one hear my side of the story? I glanced at the clock above the mantel. 4:22 p.m. Each tick scraped my nerves like a dull blade. I had 98 minutes to decide my fate. Daniel leaned back, smug, arms folded tight. Would time ever slow enough for me to think? The lawyer pushed a pen toward me, weighty and sleek. Its silver body reflected my lined face. Sir, just sign where marked. 4 initials and 1 signature. His tone carried finality, not suggestion. Was I invisible in my own home? Daniel smirked again, eyes glittering. Do it, Dad. Don't drag this out. I felt heat rise in my cheeks, shame burning me. The pen rolled, clicking softly against the folder. Could a single stroke erase my life's work? I thought of the winters I worked double shifts, nights mopping floors at the factory so Daniel could study. My back still ached with that cold concrete. How quickly children forget sacrifices carved into our bones. Would Sarah ever know the truth of her father's greed? Daniel snapped his fingers. Focus, old man. The lawyer slid his watch out, setting it on the table. Time is short. The notary leaves at 5 sharp. The ticking seemed louder now, every second accusing me. How could ink decide who I truly was? The folder slipped when I pushed it back. Papers spilled. 1 page caught my eye. It was marked Loan Repayment Default Notice. Bold red letters screamed, Seizure scheduled for September 21st. Was this about his debts, not my land? Daniel's jaw tightened as I held the paper. Give me that. It's not for you. His hand snatched at it, but I gripped tighter. Our eyes locked, his glare filled with fury. Why hide this if he claimed to protect me? I whispered. Is this what you're covering, Daniel? The lawyer froze, eyes darting between us. Daniel hissed, Stay out of it! Just sign! My knuckles whitened around the page. Was this my first proof? His secret, not mine. The room seemed smaller, walls closing in. My breath quickened, throat dry with dread. The smell of his cologne, sharp musk, turned my stomach. Every detail screamed that I was cornered prey. Would I collapse before finding a way out? The lawyer cleared his throat. "We still need the deed, Mr. Harris. Please." Daniel leaned in again, whispering poison. "Sign, or I swear, you'll regret this by sunset." His words dripped like venom into my ear. I dropped the loan notice into my lap quietly. Daniel didn't notice, too sure of his control. My hand covered it, fingers trembling but firm. This was my first shield, fragile as it seemed. Could this hidden page turn the tide? The clock now read 4:38 p.m. Every second felt stolen, borrowed from fate. The lawyer tapped the pen impatiently. Daniel clenched his jaw, veins straining in his neck. Would he explode before the truth surfaced? I pressed the loan notice flat against my knee. Its paper crinkled softly, sound sharp in the tense room. A spark of defiance lit inside me, quiet but steady. I would not sign, not yet, not blind. Was I finally climbing one step above him? Daniel leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "What's in your hand?" His voice cut like steel. I stayed silent, gripping the paper tighter. His anger rose, but my silence unnerved him. Could fear shift, even slightly, to my side? The lawyer shut his case with a snap. "We'll return at 5. Decide then, sir." Daniel's face darkened, frustration cracking his mask. He stormed toward the hall, muttering threats. The deadline had shifted, but so had power. I slipped the loan notice into the drawer. My hand lingered on the wooden handle, warm and firm. Daniel's voice echoed from the hall. 5 o'clock, or you lose her. Her, Sarah, his cruel weapon of choice. Would this paper be enough to fight back? The house fell quiet except for the ticking clock. I stared at the locked drawer, heart pounding. My first proof waited, silent, but deadly. Daniel thought he held me under his thumb. But what if he was already one step lower? If these stories keep you company at night, subscribe so I can keep bringing them to you. The drawer handle rattled, metal clinking against the wood. I froze, breath caught in my throat. Daniel's voice came sharp from the hall. "What are you hiding in there, old man?" The words sliced through the quiet like knives. My palm pressed down hard, forcing it shut. The wood was warm, edges rough beneath my skin. The loan notice crinkled inside, my only proof. Would he snatch it before I had a chance to breathe? The clock struck 4:41, each chime pounding my nerves. Daniel stormed back into the room, eyes burning. He yanked the drawer but found it locked. "You think this is a game?" His fist slammed the desk. The vibration rattled my bones. I whispered, "Not everything belongs to you." His face twisted, a mixture of rage and disbelief. "You're siding against me," he hissed. I stayed silent, chest heaving with shame and fury. The silence itself was my answer. Would he see weakness or defiance? The lawyer shifted uncomfortably, clearing his throat. "Mr. Harris, time is pressing." But Daniel waved him off, eyes glued to me. "You'll regret this, Dad. You don't know what's coming." Why did every threat carry Sarah's shadow? I thought of her small hand in mine last summer. We planted roses together by the porch. She laughed when dirt smudged her cheeks. That memory steadied me now, fragile but bright. Would I lose her too if I stayed silent? Daniel paced, his shoes thudding against the floor. The sound echoed like a judge's gavel. Each step carried the weight of his impatience. I tightened my grip on the desk edge. Could my silence outlast his fury? Suddenly, he stopped pacing. He leaned close, lowering his voice. "Sign by 5, or Sarah never comes again." His whisper carried venom, dripping into my ear. I felt my heart twist, cold and heavy. The lawyer's pen tapped the folder rhythmically. Click, click, each strike louder than the last, a cruel metronome counting down my defeat. I wiped sweat from my brow, hand trembling. Was this countdown my final hour of freedom? Daniel leaned back, arms crossed. "Decide fast. I won't repeat myself." His smirk returned, cruel and certain. He thought I was cornered, powerless. But didn't he sense the drawer's secret? I shifted in my chair, forcing calm. "Why the rush, Daniel?" My voice steadied. His brow furrowed, a crack in his mask. "The bank doesn't wait," he muttered. But the tremor in his tone betrayed him. For the first time, he looked away. It was brief, but I caught it. Fear flickered in his eyes, small but real. The loan notice burned inside that drawer. Would it expose him before the hour struck? The lawyer gathered the papers, stacking them neatly. "Sir, we'll return at 4:55 for signatures." He snapped the case shut, voice flat. Time shrank, slipping between my fingers. What would I do with 14 minutes? Daniel lingered, glaring as the lawyer stepped out. His hand gripped the drawer handle again. The lock held, but his knuckles whitened. He spat the words like stones. "You're not strong enough to stop me." I wanted to shout, to claw the truth out. Instead, I swallowed the anger, let it settle. He thrived on my reactions. I couldn't feed him. But the silence was its own weapon. Could restraint become my only defense? He stepped back suddenly, smile thin and cruel. "Fine, I'll be outside. Think hard." His footsteps receded, fading down the hall. The door clicked shut behind him. Was that victory, or just a pause? I exhaled, the air heavy with polish and dust. The loan notice lay safe, whispering from the drawer. A fragile shield, yet the only one I had. My heart pounded in rhythm with the clock. Could one page hold back the storm? The silence broke. 3 knocks at the door. Not Daniel this time, but firm, deliberate. I rose slowly, knees stiff, heart thudding. Who else could arrive now, at this hour? Was it help, or another threat? My hand reached for the doorknob, cool and solid. Voices murmured outside, too low to catch. The air in the room thickened, pressing down. I swallowed hard, bracing for what waited. Would this knock open hope or doom? I turned the knob, wood groaning on its hinges. A shadow filled the doorway, broad, unyielding. The figure stepped forward, papers in hand. My breath caught in my chest again. Why now? And why him? The man's eyes fixed on me, steady and grave. He lifted the envelope, seal broken. "This was left at your gate," he said. His voice carried no malice, only weight. Was it a warning? Or the missing piece? Daniel's voice echoed from the hall behind me. "Who is it, Dad?" He was coming closer. The envelope trembled in my grasp. Its paper smelled faintly of tobacco and rain. Could this be the proof he never expected? The man stepped back, silent, waiting. Daniel's shadow grew on the wall, nearer. I clutched the envelope tight, heart racing. The clock ticked closer to 4:50. Would I open it before Daniel arrived? Daniel's fingers dug into my shoulder, hard and unforgiving. The pressure sent a sting down my arm, locking me still. "Give it here!" he hissed, eyes fixed on the envelope. The paper rustled in my grip, edges cutting into my palm. My breath caught, heart hammering against my ribs. Was this the moment he finally broke me? I tightened my hold, refusing to yield. The envelope smelled of wet leaves, earthy and raw. It had been outside, waiting, unseen, like truth itself. Daniel leaned closer, breath sharp with anger. "Don't make me take it by force, Dad." Would he truly cross that line in his own house? I remembered a night 20 years ago, working overtime at the mill to pay his tuition. Grease and smoke clung to my clothes. My fingers bled from hauling crates past midnight. He never knew, never asked, never cared. Why did sacrifice always feel invisible? The stranger at the door shifted awkwardly. "I was told this couldn't wait," he murmured. Daniel snapped at him, voice like a whip. "Leave it. He doesn't need your pity." The man's eyes flickered with unease, but he obeyed, stepping back into the fading light. The door shut, a hollow thud that trapped me. Daniel yanked the envelope halfway from my hands. Paper tore, a jagged rip across its side. Fragments fluttered to the floor, ghostly white. I gasped, diving to snatch one piece. Would even a scrap hold meaning? Daniel sneered, crushing the torn half in his fist. His knuckles whitened as he stuffed it into his pocket. "Useless trash. Stop clinging to it." But his voice cracked, betraying fear. I tucked the smaller fragment inside my shirt. Could a shard of truth still pierce his lies? The clock ticked, loud as a hammer on steel. 4:53 glowed on the mantel, cruel and steady. 7 minutes left before the lawyer's return. Daniel prowled the room like a caged wolf. His shoes scuffed the rug, restless and sharp. How long could this dance last? He stopped suddenly, eyes narrowing. "You think you've found something," he accused. I stayed silent, hand pressed to my chest. The paper fragment warmed against my skin. His lips curled in frustration, teeth bared. Why did silence feel like my last weapon? He leaned over, face inches from mine. "Sign, or Sarah forgets you ever existed." The words sliced deeper than any paper cut. Her name was always his blade, sharp and cruel. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to plead. Would begging make me lose everything faster? From the hallway, the phone rang, shrill and sudden. Its tone cut through the tension like a siren. Daniel jerked his head toward it, cursing. "Stay here," he snapped, storming off. The sound of his voice echoed as he answered. Who would dare call at such a moment? I slid the fragment free, hands trembling. Black ink lined the torn edge, faint but legible. Outstanding balance, $212,000 due. Final notice. The words burned into me, proof undeniable. Daniel wasn't saving me. He was saving himself. Would this tiny scrap be enough to expose him? Footsteps thundered back, heavy and fast. He returned, face pale, eyes wild. "Who was it?" I asked softly. He glared, avoiding my gaze. "Wrong number," he muttered too quickly. Was the call another piece of the puzzle? The lawyer's knock followed, sharp and final. 4:55, right on time, as promised. Daniel straightened, masking panic with a smile. "Come in," he called, voice suddenly smooth. The lawyer entered, briefcase snapping open again. How many masks could Daniel wear in 1 hour? The lawyer laid out the documents once more. Mr. Harris, we must proceed. No more delays. His watch gleamed, catching the light. 5 minutes to finalize, or the office closes. Daniel shoved the pen toward me again. Sign, Dad. It ends tonight. I touched the pen, cool metal against my skin. It trembled in my grasp, heavier than before. The fragment hidden in my shirt pulsed like fire. Could I reveal it here, in front of him, or would silence buy me another chance? The lawyer's eyes bore down, expectant. Daniel's hand slammed the desk again. Enough! Sign, or I walk away forever. His voice thundered, shaking the glassware. My stomach twisted, bile rising with dread. How had love turned into threats so cruel? Would he truly sever blood so easily? The lawyer adjusted his tie, uneasy. Sir, please, time is almost gone. Daniel shoved the papers closer, face flushed. You owe me this, after everything. His words struck, hollow and false. What did I owe, and to whom? I whispered, after everything? You mean my sacrifices? His eyes flickered, momentarily stunned. The lawyer blinked, curiosity stirring. Daniel sneered, Your stories don't matter now. But I saw the crack in his mask widen. Could truth finally be seeping through? I laid the pen flat, refusing to move. Daniel's face flushed red, veins throbbing. You're making a fool of yourself, he spat. The lawyer's eyes darted between us. The clock ticked closer to 4:59. Would the final minute shatter his game? The lawyer lifted the contract, sighing. Without signature, this cannot proceed today. Daniel lunged, grabbing my wrist. Pain shot through me as he squeezed. The pen rattled across the table, rolling away. Would this violence finally reveal his desperation? I shouted, louder than I meant. Is this what Sarah should see in her father? The lawyer froze, pen halfway lifted. Daniel's grip faltered, eyes widening. The room grew silent, air thick with shame. Could my words echo louder than his threats? The clock chimed 5, final and cruel. The lawyer snapped his briefcase shut. We're done for today, he declared firmly. Daniel's face drained of color, lips tight. I pressed the fragment tighter to my chest. Would tomorrow bring collapse or salvation? Daniel turned on me, voice trembling with rage. You think this changes anything? He snarled. I met his eyes, calm but burning inside. I think it already has, I whispered. His jaw clenched, body rigid with fury. Was this the shift I had prayed for? The lawyer headed for the door, shoes clicking. I'll return in the morning. Be ready. The word morning echoed, promise and threat at once. Daniel stood frozen, fists clenched, powerless for now. The fragment against my heart whispered truth. Would dawn bring justice or ruin? Daniel slammed his fist against the wall, cursing. His voice cracked under the weight of frustration. He stormed toward the hallway, muttering threats. Each step sounded weaker than before. I sat, trembling but upright, breath steady. Had the power shifted, even slightly, my way? I stared at the desk, papers scattered, broken order. The fragment burned hot beneath my shirt. The silence after his rage felt like victory. But I knew it was only a pause. What storm would the morning carry? And would I still stand when it broke? The night dragged slow, each hour pressing against my chest. I heard Daniel pacing in the hall long past midnight. Floorboards creaked under his restless weight, never easing. Sleep never came to me. Only memories filled the dark. I thought of the winters I carried coal in silence. How could a son forget the cost of his comfort? At dawn, the smell of coffee rose faint in the air. I brewed it myself, hands steady despite exhaustion. The mug warmed my palms, steam fogging my glasses. Daniel passed the kitchen, eyes red, jaw tight. He didn't greet me, didn't thank me, nothing. Was I only a ghost in his house now? The clock struck 8, its chime sharp and heavy. My chest tightened with the sound, warning and wait. 1 hour left before the lawyer returned. The fragment inside my shirt crinkled when I moved. Proof so small, yet louder than my voice. Would it hold up under his fury? Daniel entered the room, hair uncombed, shirt wrinkled. He carried the folder like a weapon. "Be ready at 9, he muttered, avoiding my eyes. His hand shook, though he tried to hide it. I caught the tremor and stored it quietly. Fear was showing through his cracks. I whispered, "Daniel, why hide the debt?" His head snapped, eyes burning, lips tight. "Stay out of it. It's not your concern." But wasn't it, when my land was at stake? He turned away, shoulders stiff like iron. Did he fear I already knew too much? I glanced at the old photo frame on the shelf. Me and Sarah last Christmas, wrapping gifts together. Her smile lit the room brighter than the tree. I touched the glass, cool under my fingertips. Would I lose her laughter if I resisted him? That thought hurt more than losing land. At 8:30, a knock rattled the door. Not the lawyer yet. Too soon. Daniel flinched, face twisting with sudden dread. "Stay here," he ordered, striding to the door. I heard low voices, urgent and quick. Why would he hide even from me? I edged closer, straining to catch a word. "Final warning. Sheriff involved." Drifted faintly through the crack. Daniel cursed, voice sharp, almost desperate. "Give me till noon. I'll fix it." My chest tightened at those words. Another deadline. Was the sheriff already circling our lives? The door slammed, echoing through the house. Daniel re-entered, mask already back in place. "Don't ask," he growled, brushing past me. But I had heard enough. Truth had slipped. Noon, his new horizon of fear. Would I use it against him? I returned to the table, fingers drumming wood. The fragment inside my shirt pressed against my ribs. Its ink burned with proof of his lies. I pulled it free, staring at the torn words. Outstanding balance. Final notice. September 21st. Was this the rope already tightening around him? Daniel reappeared, folder clutched tighter now. He tossed it on the table, papers spilling. "You'll sign when he comes. No more games." His voice cracked, betraying strain. I picked up one paper, scanned the lines. Why was every detail about his loan? Not me. 8:45. The clock struck again. Every chime dug deeper into my nerves. Daniel sat opposite, eyes fixed on me. He tapped his foot, fast and loud. The sound drilled into the silence like a threat. How long could I sit without breaking? I set down the paper, meeting his gaze. "Daniel, you're asking me to pay for your sins." His face twisted, anger flashing. "They'll take everything if you don't," he snapped. I whispered, "They'll take it because of you." His jaw clenched, silence confirming my words. The house fell quiet again, tension thick. I rubbed the scar on my palm, grounding myself. The smell of his cologne drifted faint, sour. It turned my stomach, sharp reminder of him. He leaned back, arms crossed, smug veneer returning. Why did he think threats still held me? At 8:55, the knock arrived. Sharp, steady, lawyer's timing perfect. Daniel jumped, rushing to the door. "Right on time," he said, voice too bright. The lawyer stepped in, briefcase heavy in hand. His eyes scanned the room like a hawk. The papers spread again, pen waiting at the top. "Mr. Harris, it must be signed now," he urged. Daniel pushed the folder toward me. "Do it, Dad. Stop dragging this out." The clock ticked closer to 9 sharp. Would the moment crush me or free me? I reached for the pen, fingers brushing metal. Daniel leaned forward, victory burning in his eyes. But I didn't sign. I set the pen down. The lawyer frowned, confusion crossing his face. "I won't sign," I whispered firmly. Daniel's face flushed red, fury erupting. He slammed his fist down, rattling the table. "Enough! You're ruining everything!" The lawyer froze, papers trembling in his hand. Daniel's breath came ragged, mask falling away. His eyes glared at me, wild and desperate. Would this outburst expose him fully? I lifted the torn fragment slowly, placing it flat. The ink glared up, black and damning. $212,000. Default notice. Due today. The lawyer's eyes widened, scanning the page. Daniel lunged, hand outstretched to grab it. But the lawyer caught his wrist, firm and cold. Silence thundered in the room. Daniel's face drained of color, lips trembling. The lawyer's grip tightened, authority undeniable. "This changes things," he said slowly. I met Daniel's eyes, steady and burning. Was this the turn I had waited for? The clock struck 9, final and loud. The sound echoed like a gavel in judgment. Daniel yanked his arm free, cursing under breath. The lawyer tucked the fragment into his folder. "Mr. Harris, I'll need to verify this." Would truth now belong to someone outside these walls? Daniel pointed a shaking finger at me. "You'll regret this, old man." His voice cracked, anger drowning in fear. He stormed toward the door, slamming it hard. The lawyer's eyes lingered on me. "Stay ready. The sheriff may come." The words chilled me deeper than night air. Sheriff, law, judgment, finality. I sank into the chair, chest tight. The lawyer gathered his case and left quietly. The house grew hollow with silence. What storm would the sheriff bring? I touched the empty space where the fragment had been. My hand shook, skin cold as stone. Daniel's threats still echoed in the air. Yet for once, I held ground against him. Would the law now weigh the truth fairly? Or had I only drawn fire closer? The clock ticked on, louder in the quiet. Each second felt heavier than the last. I sat alone, breath shallow, hands clenched. The morning sun lit the table, cruel and bright. My land, my blood, my Sarah, all at stake. Would I survive what noon would bring? The crunch of gravel outside froze me in place, heart stalling. Through the thin curtains, I saw the sheriff's car, blue paint dulled by dust. Daniel's voice erupted from the hallway, a curse ripped raw. He had heard it too, his worst fear realized before noon. Boots hit the porch with measured weight, each step deliberate. The knock that followed wasn't polite, it was the law itself. Would my house still be mine once that door opened? I rose, legs stiff, breath catching shallow in my chest. My fingers grazed the table edge, grounding myself in its oak grain. The air smelled of coffee gone cold, bitter and stale. Daniel rushed ahead, throwing the door wide before I could. "Sheriff, this isn't necessary," he barked, too loud, too fast. The officer's hat shadowed calm eyes, but his voice was firm. "Mr. Harris, we need to speak with your father." Daniel tried to block him, body stretched across the doorway. "He's unwell. Can't handle this right now." The sheriff shifted his weight, one hand resting on his belt. "Step aside, Daniel. I wasn't asking." The authority in that tone cut through the air, sharp as steel. Daniel hesitated, shoulders stiff, then stepped back a fraction. Why did fear finally reach him when nothing else had? The sheriff entered, boots thudding on my worn rug. He removed his hat, nodding at me with quiet respect. "Morning, sir. I'm Sheriff Calloway. May we talk?" His voice carried no malice, only gravity. I nodded, throat tight. Words stuck behind fear. Daniel loomed near the doorway, fists clenched white. Would this be my first moment to speak safely? The sheriff set a folder on the table, papers spilling. I caught the seal, County Court, bold and official. "Mr. Harris, your name appears on foreclosure filings," he said. Daniel's face blanched, mask slipping like wet paint. I steadied myself, fingers curling against the table edge. "I never signed any loan," I whispered hoarse. Could my voice carry against Daniel's storm? Daniel lunged forward, spitting words like fire. "He's confused. Doesn't know what he's saying." The sheriff raised one hand, steady as stone. "I'll hear him out, son. Let him speak." Daniel's breath hitched, chest heaving with fury. I met the sheriff's eyes, finding ground in his calm. Would the truth finally echo outside these walls? I pulled the memory sharp into my mind, those factory nights. Grease under my nails, sweat burning my eyes, paychecks thin. Every dollar saved, tucked into envelopes marked tuition. I worked double shifts, bones breaking, just for Daniel's chance. Now he used my name as his shield, not his gift. "Sheriff," I said, voice steady now, "I never touched those papers." Could sacrifice finally speak louder than deceit? The sheriff studied me, then the folder, then Daniel. "Your father has the right to contest these filings," he said. Daniel snarled, stepping forward, voice cracking with rage. "He's lying! He's covering!" He choked on the words. The sheriff cut him short with a glance sharp as glass. "Careful, Daniel. False statements don't serve you here." Why did authority make him shrink smaller than I ever could? I reached slowly into my shirt, pulling the fragment. Its torn edge flapped softly, ink stark against the white. "Default notice," I said, placing it on the table. The sheriff leaned in, eyes narrowing as he read. Daniel lunged, but the officer's arm blocked him cold. "This belongs in evidence," the sheriff declared firmly. Would this scrap of paper finally stand taller than Daniel? Daniel's face flushed red, veins straining at his temple. "You can't take that. It's not legal." His words cracked, desperate, unconvincing. The sheriff tucked the fragment carefully into his folder. "That's for the court to decide, not you," he said. Daniel kicked the chair, sending it crashing against the wall. Would violence be his only weapon left now? The sound echoed through the house, glass rattling. I flinched, but the sheriff didn't move an inch. "Sit down," Calloway ordered, voice ironclad. Daniel's chest heaved, eyes darting wild, yet he obeyed. His body collapsed into the chair like a defeated child. I had never seen him so small, so cornered. Was this a glimpse of the truth beneath his rage? The sheriff turned back to me, tone gentler now. "Mr. Harris, I'll need you at the courthouse tomorrow morning." The weight of those words pressed deep into my chest. Court, public, final, beyond whispers and walls. My voice trembled. What happens if I can't prove? He held my gaze steady, calm yet sharp. Then the property transfers by default. Daniel smirked suddenly, a crack of arrogance returning. "You see, Dad? You'll lose it anyway." His words were venom, but they rang hollow now. The sheriff's eyes snapped to him, stern as stone. "You'll lose more if fraud is proven." Daniel's smile faltered, lips tightening thin. Would justice finally balance the scale? I sat back, air thick with dust and dread. My mind raced with years of memories and loss. The smell of wood polish still lingered, bitter and sharp. This house carried every moment of my life. How could ink and lies erase all that? Could tomorrow truly decide who I was? The sheriff rose, hat in hand, eyes solemn. "I'll escort the papers personally," he said firmly. His boots echoed heavy as he walked to the door. Daniel followed, words trapped tight in his throat. At the threshold, the sheriff paused, looking back at me. "Be ready by 9. Truth has its hour." The door shut behind him, silence swallowing the house. Would morning bring redemption, or ruin sealed in stone? Daniel turned on me, face twisted, eyes blazing. "You've ruined everything. I'll never forgive you." His voice cracked, sharp but weak. He stormed upstairs, footsteps pounding, door slamming hard. The house trembled with his fury, then stilled again. I sat at the table, alone with my breath. Would family bonds ever heal after this wound? I touched the empty place where the fragment had lain. Though gone, its weight still lingered on my chest. The sheriff had carried it away, a torch of proof. The clock ticked past 11, steady, merciless. Each second dragged me closer to tomorrow's trial. Would the truth shine bright, or burn us all down? The silence answered nothing, only deepened my dread. I rose slowly, knees stiff, body weary. The photo of Sarah still sat on the shelf. I lifted it, glass cool under my fingers. Her smile pierced through the storm inside me. For her, I would stand in that courthouse. For her, I would face Daniel's lies bare. Would she ever know the price of love? I set the frame back, hands trembling, heart aching. The house groaned with quiet, walls holding secrets. My eyes drifted to the door, memory of boots still there. The sheriff's words echoed sharp. Truth has its hour. I whispered to the empty room, "Let it come." The sun climbed higher, shadows shortening on the floor. Would tomorrow dawn with justice? Or my final loss? The creak from upstairs hung in the silence, sharp and haunting. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for Daniel's steps, but none came. Only stillness stretched, heavy and unnatural. The house smelled faintly of dust and burnt coffee. Every nerve in me braced for another outburst, another threat. Instead, a door clicked shut again, softer this time. What was he hiding behind those walls now? The clock ticked toward midnight, each second hammering slow. I sat in the chair, body aching but mind restless. The sheriff's words looped in my head. Truth has its hour. 9 o'clock tomorrow felt like a mountain rising. Would I reach the top, or be buried at its base? Daniel's footsteps finally stirred. Slow, measured, deliberate. Why did they sound more like strategy than defeat? He descended the stairs, face pale, eyes burning with resolve. He carried a glass of water, hand trembling slightly. "Dad," he said, voice cold as stone. "Sign before morning." The words landed heavy, darker than any before. He placed the glass on the table with a thud. Its rim clinked faintly, an omen in sound. Would water quench the fire of lies? I stared at him, meeting his eyes without flinching. "Morning brings the court," I whispered. His lip curled, rage flickering beneath the surface. "No court can save you if Sarah disappears." The words froze me colder than winter winds. He leaned closer, breath sharp with menace. Was he truly threatening his own daughter's bond? My heart pounded, hands clenching the armrest tight. The room swayed, memories rushing like waves. Nights of working shifts just to pay his school. The sacrifice etched into every scar on my palms. Yet here he stood, ready to sever bloodlines. How deep could greed dig into a man's soul? Would Sarah ever know the truth of her father? Daniel poured the water slowly, glass filling with quiet trickle. He slid it toward me, eyes never blinking. "Drink. Sleep. Tomorrow you'll sign before the sheriff comes." The command tasted of poison, even if the glass was clean. I pushed it aside, the rim scraping wood. His smirk deepened, cruel satisfaction glinting. Why did he always mistake refusal for weakness? I whispered, "You can't break me, Daniel." His face darkened, eyes sharp as knives. "You already are broken," he spat. The venom stung more than the words themselves, but my silence was a shield he couldn't pierce. The clock struck 1, chime heavy and cold. Would the hours crawl until dawn revealed us both? I rose, joints stiff, body groaning under weight. Daniel blocked the doorway, arms folded. "You're not leaving this house until you sign." The air pressed thick between us, almost suffocating. I steadied my breath, refusing to step back. He tilted his head, grin cruel and mocking. Did he believe walls could cage the truth? At last, he stepped aside, letting me pass. But his eyes tracked me, every move marked. I climbed the stairs, each step creaking under my weight. The hallway smelled faintly of old varnish and dust. I entered my room, shutting the door firm. Yet his shadow lingered in the silence. Would sleep come with danger stalking so near? The night gave me no rest, only fragments of dreams. Sarah's voice calling, laughter cut short, papers rustling, pens scratching, gavel striking. Each image woke me, sweat cold on my neck. The hours dissolved until morning light pierced the curtains. Birdsong rose faint outside, mockery of peace. Would this day carve justice, or bury me? I washed my face, water cold against tired skin. The mirror showed hollows beneath my eyes, deep as valleys. Behind me, the door creaked. Daniel stood watching. "You look like death," he muttered. I turned, towel clenched tight in my hand. "Better honest death than living in lies," I said. His sneer faltered, only for a second. Downstairs, breakfast sat untouched, bread stiff and stale. Daniel paced, phone clutched, voice low in whispers. I caught fragments. Extension. Too late. He knows. Each word sharpened the blade of truth. I poured coffee, its bitter scent rising thick. Would this small ritual steady me for battle? Or was every sip just borrowed time? The clock struck 8, loud as judgment itself. Daniel ended the call, slamming the phone down. 1 hour, he said flatly, staring at me. His voice shook, yet his threat was steady. The tension strangled the air until it cracked. He pointed at the papers on the table. Choose wisely, Dad. Court isn't mercy, it's war. I touched the folder, fingers grazing its edge. The paper felt alive, humming with consequence. But the fragment was gone, carried by the sheriff. It was both my loss and my shield. Daniel's eyes narrowed, searching my silence. Would he sense I no longer carried the proof? Or would doubt gnaw at his own mind first? The minutes bled out slow, each heavier than the last. Daniel stood by the window, blinds half open. The morning sun cut bars of light across his face. He looked caged, yet tried to stand tall. His hand twitched against the glass, restless, uncertain. I sipped the bitter coffee, heart steady now. Would calmness unnerve him more than defiance? 8:30 arrived with another knock at the door. Daniel jumped, fear flashing raw in his eyes. He moved quick, blocking me from the hallway. I'll answer, he barked, voice cracking faint. I heard boots again, measured and sure. The sheriff's voice carried through the wood. Mr. Harris, time to leave. Daniel opened the door a sliver, blocking the view. Give us 10 more minutes, he pleaded low. The sheriff's tone sharpened, no patience left. You had all night. Step aside. Daniel's knuckles whitened on the doorknob. The door shuddered beneath the strain. Would he resist the law itself? I rose, chair scraping loud against the floor. Daniel spun, eyes blazing, caught between fight and collapse. Dad, don't do this, he hissed. His voice cracked under the weight of desperation. I walked past him, hand brushing the cool wall. The sheriff's figure filled the doorway, steady and firm. Was this the step into truth I feared and needed? The sheriff nodded, tipping his hat slightly. Let's go, sir. Court waits for no one. Daniel's breath grew ragged, chest heaving fast. His hand reached for me but stopped midair. The moment stretched, silence thick as rope. The house seemed to hold its breath with us. Would I walk free, or chained to his lies? I stepped onto the porch, morning sun burning my eyes. The sheriff's car gleamed faint under the light. Daniel stayed in the doorway, shadow stretching long. Last chance, Dad, he called, voice breaking. His threat now sounded like a plea. I kept walking, back straight despite the weight. Would the courthouse be my grave? Or my release? The sheriff's car rolled slow down the street, gravel crunching under the tires. Through the window, I saw curtains twitch, neighbors' eyes heavy with judgment. Whispers followed us, though no words reached my ears. Daniel trailed behind in his own car, shadow never leaving. The courthouse loomed ahead, stone columns gray against the morning sky. Each block we passed weighed like years of my life. Would this building strip me bare, or give me breath? We parked by the front steps, sun glinting off the brass handles. The sheriff stepped out first, boots striking pavement with authority. I followed, knees stiff, breath shallow, chest tightening with dread. Daniel slammed his car door, rushing to catch up. His tie was crooked, hair slicked back with haste. "Don't say a word in there," he hissed low. Was silence his last shield, or my last weapon? Inside, the hall smelled of paper and disinfectant. Marble echoed each step, every sound louder than truth. Clerks shuffled past, arms full of files marked with dates. A clock high on the wall ticked 8:55 sharp. 5 minutes until the hearing would begin. My palms sweated, the scar burning against my skin. Would 5 minutes decide a lifetime's work? The sheriff guided me toward the chamber doors. Wood polished, dark, handles gleaming under harsh lights. Daniel blocked my path once more, eyes narrow. "Dad, listen. Sign inside quietly, and it ends." His whisper stung, sweetened poison wrapped in false mercy. I met his gaze, silence heavier than words. Would refusal burn his mask before strangers? The bailiff opened the doors, voice booming clear. "Case number 4317. Harris versus Harris." The name echoed, sharp, cutting me raw inside. Daniel flinched faintly, jaw tightening at the sound. We stepped inside, benches lined with curious faces. Neighbors, farmers, even the pastor filled the room. Would shame spread wider than truth today? The judge sat high, robes dark, eyes steady. His gavel struck once, silence swallowing every whisper. Daniel's lawyer rose, briefcase clicking open fast. "Your Honor, my client seeks immediate transfer of property." The words hit me like stones, blunt and final. Papers rustled as he spread them across the desk. Would ink seal fate before my voice rose? The judge turned, gaze heavy on me. "Mr. Harris, do you understand the claim?" I nodded slow, voice trembling but firm. "I never signed those loans, Your Honor." Daniel's face twisted, lips parting in protest. The gavel struck again, silencing him cold. Was truth finally finding a stage to stand? The sheriff stepped forward, folder in hand. "Your Honor, evidence was retrieved last night." He placed the torn fragment carefully on the bench. Ink still clear. Default notice, $212,000 due today. The room gasped faint, whispers buzzing low. Daniel's face drained of color, eyes wide. Would this scrap shatter his fortress of lies? His lawyer scrambled, voice high and sharp. "This proves nothing, just paper without context." The judge raised a brow, gaze sharp as steel. "Then where is the complete record, counselor?" Silence stretched, heavy, painful, undeniable. Daniel shifted, sweat beading on his brow. Could missing pages speak louder than forged ones? I clenched the bench before me, grounding myself firm. The wood was cool, edges biting my palms. "I worked my life for that land," I said. Nights of Greece, years of hunger, decades of debt. Every scar on my hands carved its history. Not one signature of mine lies in those papers. Would sacrifice finally have its voice heard? The pastor in the back murmured low. "Tell the truth, Daniel," his words carried across. Eyes turned, pressure swelling like storm clouds. Daniel's breath hitched, fists clenched on his knees. He muttered, "They don't understand," voice cracking. But no one blinked, no one turned away. Would the crowd itself become my witness? The judge leaned forward, hands folded calm. "Mr. Harris, Jr., do you contest this evidence?" Daniel stammered, words stumbling in his throat. His lawyer nudged him, whispering fast, urgent. He rose, voice trembling, forced into strength. My father forgets things. He's confused. He's old. Would age now be turned into a weapon? Laughter rippled faint, sharp, cutting Daniel's mask thin. A neighbor called, "We've seen him work harder than you." The judge struck the gavel, restoring silence firm. But the damage had landed deep, sharp, undeniable. Daniel's eyes burned, humiliation turning crimson. He shot me a glare that carried knives. Would shame drive him deeper into rage? The bailiff brought another file, seal unbroken. "Your Honor, County Clerk requested this be entered." The judge opened it, flipping pages steady. Inside lay the loan, signatures shaky but wrong. He compared them, brows furrowed with scrutiny. "These do not match Mr. Harris's hand," he said. Was forgery finally named aloud? Daniel's lawyer sputtered, words collapsing in panic. "Clerical error, perhaps. A misfile." The judge cut him short, voice cold. "Forgery is not clerical. Fraud carries weight." The gavel struck, loud, final, heavy. Daniel's shoulders sagged under its sound. Would this be the fall he never expected? The sheriff's eyes flicked to me, steady, calm. "We'll need further investigation, but the case is clear." Relief pricked my eyes, tears burning hot. The crowd murmured, shifting, whispers like waves. The pastor's voice rose again, firm, true. Truth has spoken today. Would this be the first breath of justice? The judge adjourned, gavel striking once more. Court resumes tomorrow with final judgment. The room emptied slow, feet echoing on marble. Daniel sat frozen, fists clenched, face ashen. I rose, knees stiff, but spirit upright. The sheriff's hand rested steady on my arm. Would tomorrow seal the justice begun today? I stepped outside, sunlight blinding, air sharp and clean. Neighbors watched, some nodding, others whispering still. Daniel followed, eyes hollow, mouth set tight. He hissed low, "This isn't over, Dad." The words clung, bitter as spoiled milk. But for the first time, he sounded smaller. Was I now one step above him? On the courthouse steps, I paused, staring skyward. Clouds drifted slow, sun pressing warm on my face. The weight of years pressed lighter, just for a moment. The photo of Sarah flashed in my memory, bright. Her laughter carried me forward, steady, unbroken. Tomorrow loomed, judgment final, fate sealed. Would dawn bring redemption, or one last betrayal? The voice cut through the crowd like a blade, sharp and sudden. "Check the drawer again," someone shouted, firm, unafraid. My chest tightened, breath caught in my throat. Daniel stiffened beside me, shoulders jerking at the words. Heads turned, whispers swelling louder across the courthouse steps. The sheriff raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. Who knew of that drawer, and what still hid inside? Daniel's face paled, his lips pressed thin. He hissed low in my ear, "Don't listen." But fear flickered in his eyes, raw and exposed. The sheriff studied him, suspicion sharpening like a knife. "What drawer?" the sheriff asked, voice steady, measured. Daniel stammered, "Nothing, just nonsense. Ignore it." Why did denial sound more like confession? The crowd shifted, eyes locked on us both. Neighbors who once looked away now leaned closer. One old farmer pointed, voice carrying. "The study drawer, he's been hiding papers there." Daniel spun, rage flaring. "Shut your mouth!" But the damage was already done, words unleashed. Would silence ever cage truth again? The sheriff stepped forward, jaw tight, firm resolve in his eyes. "Mr. Harris, may I search the drawer?" My heart pounded, memory flashing of last night. The lone fragment hidden there, trembling in shadows. I nodded slow, voice steady. Yes, search it. Daniel lunged toward me, but the sheriff blocked him. Was this the moment his mask shattered for good? We drove back in silence, sheriff's car leading the way. The crowd trailed behind like witnesses bound by duty. Daniel sat rigid in the back seat, eyes burning, his fists clenched, nails digging into his palms. Every mile closer to the house tightened his breath. My chest ached, but hope flickered faint within. Would the drawer hold salvation? Or another trap? The house loomed, silent, doors shut tight. The sheriff unlocked the door, stepping inside first. The smell of lemon polish lingered, yesterday's labor still fresh. My heart raced as we entered the study. The desk stood waiting, drawer handle gleaming dull. I felt the weight of every eye on me. Would my hands steady enough to face it? The sheriff knelt, tugging the drawer open. Wood groaned, reluctant, as if resisting truth. Inside lay scattered papers, yellowed edges, ink faded. Among them, a thick envelope sealed with tape. Daniel surged forward, shouting, "That's private!" The sheriff held him back with one firm arm. Why did privacy always cloak his guilt? The envelope crackled as the sheriff opened it. Stacks of papers slid free, crisp against the silence. At the top, loan documents, signatures scrawled, but the ink trembled, shaky, wrong, mismatched. The sheriff compared them to my license, eyes narrowing. "These are forged," he declared flatly. The room gasped as truth landed heavy. Daniel screamed, voice breaking into pieces. "He told me to. The lawyer. He said it was safe." His words tumbled, desperate, grasping for escape. The sheriff's eyes stayed sharp, unflinching. "Fraud by conspiracy is still fraud, Daniel." His knees buckled, body collapsing into the chair. Would blame shield him when guilt already bared him? The neighbors muttered, whispers growing fierce. The pastor stepped forward, voice ringing clear. "We all saw his father work for this land." Faces nodded, agreement spreading like fire in dry grass. Daniel covered his face, hands trembling, shoulders shaking. For the first time, shame sat heavy on him. Was this the public exposure he feared most? The sheriff stacked the forged pages neatly. He sealed them in a bag, voice calm. "This will be presented in court tomorrow." Daniel's head jerked up, eyes wide with terror. "You can't. It'll ruin me," he shouted. The sheriff met his gaze, cold as iron. "It's the law that ruins lies, not me." I sank into the old chair, body trembling. The weight of years pressed heavy, yet lighter. Truth had been spoken aloud, undeniable now. The drawer no longer hid shame, but justice. I whispered to myself, "Sarah will know." The thought steadied me, warmed me inside. Would she see her grandfather stand, not break? Daniel rose unsteady, voice raw with pleading. "Dad, please, don't let them destroy me." His words shook, but they were too late. The crowd's eyes bore into him, unforgiving. I looked at him, tears stinging my eyes. "I gave you my life already," I said. Why did mercy always feel like weakness now? The sheriff gestured, deputies stepping forward. Daniel flinched as their hands reached for him. He backed away, voice shaking. "Don't touch me!" But resistance crumbled as their grip held firm. The neighbors turned their heads, whispers buzzing. Some shook their heads, others crossed their arms. Would any of them remember this day kindly? The pastor spoke again, voice stern but kind. "Daniel, Truth isn't your enemy. Your lies are. Daniel spat, rage sparking one last time. You don't know what it's like to fail. His words cracked, hollow, bleeding shame. The deputies pulled him back toward the door. Would failure ever teach him what love did? The sheriff turned to me, voice steady. Mr. Harris, you'll still need to appear tomorrow. I nodded, breath catching, chest aching with relief. The papers and evidence carried weight beyond words. Neighbors stepped closer, some offering hands, some nods. I felt both shame and strength mix inside. Would tomorrow close the wound? Or deepen it? Daniel shouted, as they led him outside. You'll regret this, Dad. I'll never forgive you. His voice cracked, desperate and weak. The sheriff's car swallowed him, door slamming shut. Silence fell heavy in the house once more. I pressed a hand to the empty drawer. Why did victory feel so bitter, so sharp? The pastor placed a hand on my shoulder. You've carried enough alone. Now let truth carry you. His words soothed, soft as balm on wounds. But my chest still burned with sorrow's weight. Love lost in greed leaves scars deeper than law. The clock struck noon, sun high and merciless. Would justice by morning heal what family broke? I sat alone when the house emptied again. The drawer gaped open, papers stripped away. It looked bare, lifeless, but no longer deceitful. The smell of dust and lemon polish lingered. I rubbed the scar on my palm, grounding myself. The path ahead loomed, final and unyielding. Would I walk it steady, or stumble under grief? Evening shadows stretched long across the walls. The silence pressed deep, almost unbearable. Memories drifted. Sarah's laughter, Daniel's boyhood smile, all of it tangled with pain, loss, betrayal. I whispered, Lord, let tomorrow bring peace. The words floated, fragile, into the still air. Would heaven listen when blood had failed me? The drawer clicked shut at last, final and clean. I stood, back stiff, heart heavy but unbroken. The sheriff's words replayed. Truth has its hour. That hour was racing closer, dawn already waiting. Daniel's rage still echoed, but his power was gone. I carried both burden and proof into tomorrow. Would justice finally close the story by morning? The sheriff's radio still crackled, the words hanging sharp. Hearing moved to tonight. Judge will preside at 7. My heart jolted, time collapsing faster than breath. Evening shadows hadn't finished stretching across the floor. Daniel's curses still echoed faint outside, muffled by distance. Now the gavel's call arrived sooner than expected. Would nightfall close the wound, or tear it wider? The sheriff met my eyes, steady and grave. Mr. Harris, we leave in an hour. His tone carried no room for refusal, no pause. I nodded, chest tight, voice caught in silence. The drawer still gaped open, its secrets stolen. Every step toward justice felt like stepping on glass. Could I still carry myself upright into the fire? I prepared in silence, washing my face slow. The water ran cold, stinging my tired skin. The mirror reflected lines etched deeper overnight. Scars of years, of sacrifice, of thankless labor. I straightened my collar, shoulders stiff but unyielding. This wasn't vanity. It was armor against shame. Would dignity hold under the court's harsh light? The sheriff's car pulled up as dusk descended. Its headlights cut through the growing dark. Neighbors gathered again, silent witnesses at their fences. Their eyes followed, heavy with questions unspoken. Daniel wasn't among them. He was already in custody. Yet his shadow lingered, thick as smoke. Would he lash out again in the judge's hall? We entered the courthouse under buzzing lamps. The marble floor glowed pale beneath our steps. Voices murmured low in the chamber beyond. The air smelled of ink, dust, and nerves. The judge was already seated, gavel in hand. The bailiff announced, "Case 43-Scene reconvenes tonight." Would this number carve my fate into stone? Daniel sat across, wrists cuffed, fury in his eyes. His lawyer whispered fast, papers spread messy. The forged documents lay sealed in evidence bags. The fragment I'd carried now rested in plain view. The sheriff placed it on the bench with care. The judge's eyes scanned it all, sharp, precise. Would these pages finally speak louder than lies? The courtroom filled with neighbors once more. Faces leaned forward, curiosity turning into resolve. The pastor sat near the front, silent prayer on lips. The air buzzed with expectation, thick and alive. Daniel squirmed in his chair, teeth grinding. His mask cracked, sweat glistening under the lights. Would public shame bury him before judgment? The judge spoke, voice calm but weighted. These documents show clear signs of forgery. Daniel's lawyer rose, stammering, voice brittle. My client acted under pressure, Your Honor. The judge cut him short, gavel striking sharp. Fraud is not pressure. Fraud is choice. Would that word seal Daniel's downfall? The sheriff stepped forward, voice firm as stone. Investigation shows loans filed without Mr. Harris's consent. He handed over clerk reports, seals stamped clear. The judge reviewed, nodding slow, expression tightening. Forgery confirmed, he declared, voice echoing. The courtroom gasped, whispers swelling. Could this be the final blow? Daniel slammed his fists, cuffs clanging loud. They told me it would work, he shouted. His lawyer grabbed his arm, hissing for silence. The judge's gaze bore down, unflinching. Confession heard, he said, writing on his pad. Daniel froze, realizing the slip too late. Would his own tongue be his undoing? I rose, knees stiff, but voice steady. Your Honor, I only wanted to protect my home. I lifted my scarred hands, proof of labor. These hands earned it, not those forgeries. The judge nodded, eyes steady, respectful. Your work is evident, Mr. Harris, he said. Would acknowledgement feel like healing at last? The pastor rose, voice carrying strong. We all witnessed his sacrifice over decades. Neighbors nodded, murmuring agreement aloud. The judge tapped his pen, considering. Community testimony noted, he affirmed. Daniel shrank in his chair, face burning red. Would the community now stand as my shield? The judge raised the final paper, voice solemn. This court declares the loan fraudulent, the transfer void. Gasps filled the room, then silence heavy. Daniel sagged, head dropping, shoulders caving. The sheriff stepped closer, hand firm on him. The gavel struck, sound final, echoing deep. Was justice finally carved into stone tonight? The judge added, voice sharp with gravity. Charges of fraud will proceed against Daniel Harris. The lawyer paled, shuffling papers fast, uselessly. The bailiff noted each word, pen scratching loud. Daniel's eyes lifted, hatred burning into me. You betrayed me, he hissed, voice venom. Why did truth always feel like betrayal to the guilty? I sat, heart pounding, breath shaky but steady. The judge leaned forward, eyes softer now. Mr. Harris, your land remains yours by law. Tears pricked my eyes, heat burning my face. I whispered thanks, voice breaking. The pastor bowed his head, murmuring prayer. Would peace follow this verdict at last? Daniel was led out, shackles clinking loud. His curses echoed down the hall, fading slow. Neighbors whispered, voices mixing awe and pity. The pastor touched my shoulder, grounding me. You stood, and truth stood with you. I nodded, throat tight, heart aching. Would Daniel ever see truth before prison bars? The courtroom emptied, footsteps fading into night. I lingered, hand on the wooden bench. It smelled faint of polish, cool under my palm. This seat had carried my shame and my hope. Now it carried justice, heavy but clear. I exhaled, shoulders lowering for the first time. Would tomorrow bring quiet after the storm? Outside, the night air was sharp, cutting but clean. Stars blinked above, cold witnesses to it all. The courthouse lights glowed yellow against stone. The sheriff walked me to the steps, slow. You've done what few can, Mr. Harris, he said. His words settled like balm on wounds. Would I ever believe I was strong enough? The pastor joined me, coat tight against chill. Go home, rest. Truth will carry from here. I nodded, though rest still felt far. Daniel's face haunted me, broken, furious, lost. Blood bound us, but lies severed deeper. Could I forgive what law had condemned? Or was that grace beyond my reach? The sheriff's car idled, waiting, headlights glowing. Neighbors lingered still, their whispers softer now. Some nodded, some smiled, others stayed silent. But none looked away anymore. The truth had been seen, heard, judged. I stepped forward, back straight, chin high. Would tomorrow feel lighter than tonight? The courthouse clock struck 7:30 sharp. Its chime echoed down empty streets, final and clear. I climbed into the sheriff's car, body heavy. The door shut, metal cold against my hand. My land was safe, my truth intact. But my family lay shattered beyond repair. Would justice ever mend what love could not? The road back stretched long under moonlight. The car hummed low, steady, constant. Fields rolled by, shadows chasing across rows. The farmhouse light glowed faint in distance. I clenched the seatbelt, grounding my breath. Daniel's words still haunted, venom sharp. Would silence at home taste like victory? Or loss? The sheriff pulled into the drive, engine soft. He tipped his hat, voice low. You've weathered the storm. Rest now. I nodded, stepping out, gravel crunching beneath. The farmhouse loomed, doors waiting in dark. Inside, only echoes would greet me. Would I endure the silence that followed justice? I stepped inside, the air still thick with lemon polish. The drawer sat closed, no secrets hiding now. The clock ticked past 8, steady as ever. I touched the scar on my palm, whispering. For Sarah, I said, voice trembling. Her laughter filled my memory, soft and warm. Would she one day hear this story in truth? I sank into the chair, body spent, soul raw. The house hummed quiet, walls holding their breath. I closed my eyes, listening to silence, to time. Justice had come, fierce, unrelenting, final. But peace still felt far, hidden, waiting. Would tomorrow dawn with healing or deeper sorrow? Only the ticking clock answered me back. The phone's ring pierced the silence, sharp and insistent. I fumbled for the receiver, heart pounding too fast. Grandpa? Sarah's voice wavered, small but clear. Tears blurred my eyes before words could form. Yes, sweetheart. I'm here, I whispered. Her breath trembled through the line, soft, uncertain. Would she still see me as the man I was? I heard about Dad, she said quietly. Her words cut deeper than any gavel strike. Silence stretched between us, heavy and fragile. I gripped the phone, knuckles white, breath shallow. "He made his choices, Sarah," I said. My voice cracked, pain rising in my throat. Would she blame me for standing against him? Her sigh carried sorrow far beyond her years. "I don't want to lose you, too." The plea pierced straight through my heart. I closed my eyes, hand pressed to my chest. "You won't," I promised, steady but broken. The weight of truth pressed heavy, yet lighter. Could love still grow in the cracks of ruin? The house smelled of old polish and paper. I sat in the study, drawer shut for good. No secrets hid in its dark belly anymore. Only silence and the echo of shame. The clock ticked steady, hands pushing forward. Time no longer threatened. It carried me onward. Would I let it heal, or only wound? Sarah's voice grew softer, fragile but steady. "Will you tell me the truth one day?" The question lingered, sharp and innocent. I swallowed hard, throat aching. "Yes," I whispered, "every piece of it." Because lies had cost us too much already. Would truth rebuild the bridge between us? I remembered nights I worked past midnight, mopping factory floors, hands cracked and raw. Every coin saved for Daniel's education, sacrifice carved into bone, into silence. Sarah deserved to know what blood had cost. Not just land, but dignity, survival, and hope. Would she carry the story forward, or let it fade? Outside, neighbors' lights flickered on one by one. Their whispers had shifted. Less pity, more respect. The pastor's words still echoed in my ears. "You carried enough alone. Now let truth carry you." I wondered if truth could carry Sarah too. Could it shield her from her father's shadow? Or would the wound remain, raw and open? The sheriff stopped by near dusk, hat in hand. He stood at the porch, steady as ever. "Final judgment stands," he told me. "The land remains yours. Daniel faces charges." The words rang like both blessing and curse. I nodded, eyes burning with tired gratitude. Would victory ever feel like peace? He left me in the quiet again. The house groaned with age, yet stood firm. Its walls had carried generations of toil, every nail driven, every board placed with care. This land was more than soil. It was blood. I ran my hand along the worn table. Would Sarah sit here one day, listening? The night deepened, stars sharp against black sky. I sat by the window, Sarah's photo in hand. Her smile glowed even through glass and memory. The air smelled faint of earth, cool and clean. I whispered, "This is yours, not his." The words felt like prayer, like promise. Would she believe me when the time came? Tomorrow I would face the town again. Some would praise, others still whisper. But the truth was no longer mine alone. It had been written, sealed, spoken aloud. Daniel's shame was public, but mine too. For silence had lasted too many years. Would honesty now mend what quiet had ruined? I thought of Daniel as a boy. Barefoot in the fields, chasing fireflies at dusk, laughing, free, unaware of hunger's sting. I gave him that freedom at my cost. Now greed had twisted him into chains, but even chains break when truth strikes. Would prison free him from lies, or destroy him? Sarah's voice replayed in my mind. "I don't want to lose you, too." That plea was my anchor, my reason. The farm, the land, the sacrifice, all for her. Not to bury her in pain, but to lift her. She would not inherit silence, only truth. Would she forgive the cracks left by history? The night grew colder, wind rattling the shutters. I lit the lamp, its glow warm and soft. Shadows stretched long across the wooden floor. Every creak of the house felt alive. But it no longer whispered secrets, only stories. Stories meant to be told, not hidden. Would I finally learn to tell them all? I sat, pen in hand, paper before me. The words came slow, heavy with weight. Each line bled memory, loss, and sacrifice. But also fragments of hope, of love, of resilience. My hand ached, but I wrote on. This was my legacy, more than land. Would Sarah read these pages when I was gone? The clock struck midnight, sharp and final. Another day ended, another dawn waiting. I folded the paper, placed it safe in the drawer. This time, no lies, no forgeries, only truth. The house settled, groaning into quiet. I exhaled, shoulders lowering with the weight gone. Would tomorrow finally bring rest? I turned off the lamp, darkness wrapping close. The phone still sat on the table, silent. I hoped it would ring again, Sarah's voice bright. I longed to hear her laugh, clear and free. One call could mend years of silence. One truth could bridge generations. Would that call come before my last breath? The farmhouse stood strong against the night. My chest rose steady, slower than before. I touched the scar on my palm, a reminder. Every line carried pain, but also endurance. This body bore the cost of love. This heart still beat for tomorrow's chance. Would Sarah see me not as broken, but whole? I closed my eyes, whispering into the dark, Lord, let her know she was always enough. The silence answered soft, like peace arriving late. The land outside waited, steady, unchanged. The house carried every echo, every truth, and for the first time, so did I. Would justice finally rest beside love tonight? Justice came not from vengeance, but from truth carried forward. The land stayed, the lies fell, and love remained the only inheritance worth giving. What would you have done in my place? Comment below. I want to read your stories. If these words keep you company tonight, subscribe so I can bring you more.